the first Near Mint Gideon gameplay video. I really hope you enjoy it. It's taken me a very long time to edit and put together, and I'm certainly learning the whole process. But if you do enjoy it, give it a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe. I'll be playing Zareth, the trickster, versus Harry, who is playing Gyrus, Waker of Corpses. I really hope you enjoy. Harry plays an Evolving Wilds, cracks it to find a swamp, and passes to me. I play a base camp and pass to Harry. Harry untaps, draws a card for turn, plays a forest, then for 2 mana casts a Life from the Loam, returning his Evolving Wilds to his hand. That's his turn, and he passes to me. I untap and draw, play an island, I tap 2, and play a Dimir Signet, which is sort of hidden by the glare, and I pass back to Harry. Harry untaps, draws a card, plays a Game Trail, and reveals a forest from his hand. This means that the Game Trail comes in untapped. He then taps 3 mana and casts his commander, Gyrus, Waker of Corpses, who comes in with 3 +1/+1 counters. That's all Harry can do. He passes the turn. I untap, I draw, I play another island, I tap 4 mana and play a Thran Dynamo. That's all I can do, and I pass the turn. Harry untaps and he draws. He taps 2 mana, plays a Kalani Heart Expedition. He then plays a forest, putting a counter on the expedition, then plays a Sakura Tribe Elder. He sacks the Steve, finds a mountain, and puts another counter on his enchantment. You can see what's coming. He then goes to combat. On attack, his commander brings back the Steve, exiling it from his graveyard, and that is tapped and attacking me also. Before damage, Harry sacks the Steve to find another basic land, which in turn will put another counter on his expedition, so he shortcuts and instead finds 3 basic lands. Pretty good going. I untap on my turn, I draw a card, I play an island, and I'm struggling for black mana, only having the base camp and the Dimir Signet, which provides me with such. I decide to do nothing on my turn, hoping to flash my commander in on Harry's end step or during combat on his turn, and I pass the turn with all my mana left up. Harry untaps and draws. He plays the Evolving Wilds that he had in his hand and taps out to cast a Green Sun Zenith for X equal to 5. He searches his library for a creature card with converted mana cost 5 or less, and puts into play a Titania, Protector of Argoth. He also shuffles the Green Sun Zenith into his library and cracks the Evolving Wilds to fetch another basic out onto the field. This gives him a green elemental token that's a 5/3, which we represent with this elephant. He then swings at me with Gyrus, and I flash out my commander, Zareth, the trickster, and block his commander, Gyrus. This was Harry's plan all along, so he could actually cast Gyrus for more mana later on in the game. Harry finishes searching, finds a mountain, and then passes to me. I untap and I draw. I'm still struggling for black mana. I tap 4 mana and play a Clever Impersonator, copying the Titania on Harry's board. I then tap 4 mana and use the black, cast a Duress, targeting Harry. He reveals 3 cards from his hand, a Death Sprout, a Fleshback Marauder, and Azuri's Predation. I get to choose one of them, a non-creature, non-land, and he has to discard that card. I choose Azuri's Predation. With nothing left to do, I pass the turn to Harry. Harry untaps and dredges Life from the Loam, putting 3 cards into his graveyard and returning Life from the Loam to his hand. He then taps 5 mana and casts Gyrus, tapping 2 more for the Life from the Loam that he just dredged, and returning 3 lands to his hand. He plays the Evolving Wilds that he just returned as his land for turn. Moving to combat, he swings the 5/3 Elemental at me, and I decide just to take the damage. Harry passes to me, I untap and draw a card. Play a Swamp, getting that black mana I've been needed all game. I then tap 3 mana and play a Demonic Embrace, targeting my commander. This gives my commander +3, +1, and flying, and my commander is now a demon in addition to its other types. I then fly over the top of Harry's creatures with my commander and deal Harry 7 damage. This triggers Zareth Sand's second ability, and I get to put a permanent from Harry's graveyard onto the battlefield under my control. There's not a great deal of choice. One of them is the Colony Heart Expedition, and one is the Imperial Recruiter that he milled over last turn. I choose the Imperial Recruiter, and I represent it with a backwards-facing magic card. The Imperial Recruiter enters under my control, and I get its ETB, so I get to search my library for a creature with power 2 or less. After a while of searching, I decide on an Agent of Treachery, and I put that card in my hand. I only have 6 mana left, so I can't cast the Agent of Treachery this turn. I tap 2, a black and 1 generic, using the base camp for the black, and I cast a Nezumi Shortfang. With nothing left, I pass the turn. In my end step, Harry cracks his Evolving Wilds, getting himself another 5/3 Elemental. This was a brand new build for Harry, so he hasn't quite sorted out the mana base yet, and actually fails to find a basic land here, because he has all of his basics either in his hand or out on the battlefield. Thank goodness he got some value from Titania, getting that 5/3 Elemental when he sacrificed his Evolving Wilds. Harry then moves to his turn. I remind him to untap his Elementals too. Harry can't work out what mana to pay for a Fleshback Marauder, so taps 4, then remembers it's only 3, and plays a Fleshback Marauder. The Fleshback Marauder ETBs, and we both have to sacrifice a creature. He sacrifices the Fleshback Marauder, and I choose to sacrifice my Nezumi Shortfang. He then goes to combat, swinging the Elementals at me and his commander, bringing back the Fleshback Marauder with his commander's ability. He then sacrifices the token copy of the Fleshback Marauder that Gyrus made, and I sacrifice the Imperial Recruiter. I block with my copy of Titania, killing Harry's commander. I take 10. Plays a land. Harry taps 4 mana and plays a Death Sprout on my commander. I put my commander in the command zone. Harry can't find a basic land because there's none left in his deck. I untap and draw on my turn. I separate out my black mana, tap 6 mana, including 2 black, and play a Life's Finale, destroying all creatures. I then put into the bin from Harry's library a Craterhoof Behemoth, a Gitrog monster, and another Devour card from M20, or the Commander set, I'm not sure. I then tap 3 and play a Sphinx's Tutelage. With nothing else, I pass the turn. Harry untaps, draws a card. Plays a scry land tapped, puts the card on top on the bottom, taps a whole bunch of mana and recasts his commander with 7 +1/+1 counters. That's all Harry can do, so he passes the turn to me. I untap and draw, and that triggers my Sphinx's tutelage, which mills Harry for 2. I then play a land, which comes into play tapped. I then tap 7 mana and play the Agent of Treachery that I found earlier, taking Harry's commander. I pass back to Harry, he draws and untaps his lands. Taps 3 and plays a Yavimaya Elder. Passes the turn back to me. I draw, that mills Harry for 2. I tap 1, play a Soul Ring, move straight to combat and swing his own commander at him. Exiling my Clever Impersonator and having it enter the battlefield as a copy of my Agent of Treachery. And I take Harry's Swamp. Harry untaps. Taps 3 for a Burnished Heart. Passing the turn. On the end step, I flash out my commander. Go to my untap. Draw a card. Mill Harry for 2. Check my graveyard. Cast Demonic Embrace from my graveyard again by discarding a card and paying 3 life, as well as paying its mana cost, and I put the enchantment onto Zareth. I then swing at Harry with Zareth and his commander. I choose not to exile anything with Gyrus' ability. Harry blocks Gyrus and takes this damage from Zareth. I then take a permanent from his graveyard, and I choose to take the Crater Hoof Behemoth. It doesn't do anything now, but I figure I don't want it in Harry's bin, so I'll put it on the battlefield as this white card you can see now. On the end step, because I control 3 of Harry's permanents, I mill Harry for 6 due to my Sphinx's tutelage. Harry needs a really good top deck here, otherwise he's just dead on board. He stripped mines his own swamp off me. I untap, go to combat, and Harry knows when he's beat.